southbound right turn lane at their main entrance off of Congress. Then they also asked for a northbound left turn extension, which is a lane they have now, but they have to extend it. And then the northbound left turn at Northwest 65th Street also has to be extended. But the southbound right, they initially required it, and then they changed their mind, or something happened, and they said that it's not needed. But based on the traffic numbers that JMD even created, I use those, and I show that that southbound right turn lane has to be added, because if not, it's going to create additional problems, not only for the people coming in and going from this development, but just people traversing Congress Avenue from different parts of the county. In fact, even there's a Route 2 that Palm Trans runs, and there's a bus that stops like in the peak hour, like in the morning and afternoon, it's like almost 20 minutes. Then it becomes every 30 minutes. That bus would not be able to make their stop times if this right turn lane is not added, because it will just delay. Another issue is if you don't add that southbound right turn, then the right turning people are mixed with the through traffic, and eventually that's going to spill back to the Northwest 65th intersection and possibly even further north, impacting the Millennium 2 building's main entrance. So between the people exiting their building in the afternoon and the people who are trying to get into Amtech also in the afternoon, there's going to be definitely some delays and potential rear-end collisions. So my recommendation is very similar to the county's, but I'd like to add the southbound right turn at Northwest 65th Street, because even though they're supposedly the only residential people are going to be using that entrance to the Amtech property, I don't know how they're going to, make sure that only residential people use it, because they don't have a gate, they don't have anything prepared. So anybody can go through that entrance. If that happens, then Millennium 2 building's entrance is going to be impacted too. So I can go through the...
Well, actually, Mr. President, we've given you a little more time. Do you think you can conclude shortly?
I'm sorry, what?
Can you conclude shortly?
I was going to answer shortly.
Can you conclude your comments, please? Because we only allow 5 minutes usually. I wanted to give you a little more time, but it sounds like you're coming to a break point.
Sure. Yeah, I was just going to see if they wanted me to go over the attachment.
Thank you, Mr. Perez. All right.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and just put on my presentation, and then I'm going to have one additional witness. May I have 10 minutes for my presentation?
Yes, I think we can grant that.
Thank you.
Before you start, if I can just for the record, because there were documents handed out when the speaker, and he didn't reference them, the two documents are a memo entitled the Technical Memorandum dated April 11, 2022, and an attachment which is a Palm Beach County letter dated August 7, 2019.
Thank you. Mr. Abrams.
Thank you. So I'd like to just go over some key issues that we see with this application. We understand that this application is for an amendment to an existing planned mobility development that was previously approved by this commission. And we understand that today the only matters before this commission are the changes to that planned mobility development. What we're submitting to you is that the changes that are being proposed are in fact substantial enough to warrant reconsideration and to warrant a vote by this commission against the application. Mainly my focus is going to be on the right turn lane that has been removed from this application and the significant impacts that that will have on my client, the owner of 6501 Congress Avenue, and that's Millennium 2 LLC. If we can just go to the next slide. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. First time in Boca. Thank you. Okay. So to the left is highlighted is the property at 6501 Congress Avenue. My client owns this property. It is an office building. As you can see to the right, that's a snapshot from the property appraiser showing that my client's property is in fact within 100 feet of the property in question today regarding the Amtech proposal. And so what we are saying is that Millennium 2 LLC is a substantially affected party, and we intend to oppose this application today. This is just a snapshot from the application materials in backup to the application. And on this is from pages 152 through 158. It's the analysis from the planner for the city. And one of the key issues that we want to bring this city commission's attention to is item number 7, removal of the previously proposed southbound right turn lane on Congress Avenue. The lane is meant to be a deceleration lane. It was approved as part of the Planned Mobility Development when this commission approved it last, and it was made an essential part of it because the county requires, given the traffic numbers that you heard Mr. Perez testify to, it's required. And if you look at the City of Boca Raton's Code of Ordinances and the Land Development Code, specifically Section 23-190, subsection F, you'll see that because this property and the change that's being proposed with the planned mobility development results in more than, I think it's approximately 113 net trips per day, peak hour, that squarely puts it within subpart F, and therefore it's required to have a right turn lane by the city's code, and that's a strict requirement. You'll see in F1, it's required to, it's quite clear. Turn lane design shall comply with the standards of the jurisdiction. Turn lane, and then it says that it's required when the traffic volume meets the standards or the thresholds in Table 23C. The only way that an applicant can get out of that is if they show that the turn lane cannot be provided, and that I'm looking at subpart 3. If the applicant needs to show that the right-of-way cannot be provided due to right-of-way or environmental constraints. The applicant has not put on any information in the record to show how physical constraints of the right-of-way or environmental constraints results in that right turn lane not being able to be left as it originally was approved. And this is from 153 of the application materials. This was already shown, so I'll just skip over that. This is JMD Engineering's analysis. The applicant's traffic engineer, they're relying on this analysis for their application. If you look at the second paragraph below, which is copied from the analysis, it states clearly for the main driveway to Congress Avenue, a southbound right turn lane is required. So there's nothing to show that there's any reason it shouldn't be required according to their own expert. And if you go to 161 to 162, page 161 to 162 of the application materials, you'll see that the county's TPS letter, the Traffic Performance Standards letter, grants approval of the project, but it's conditioned on the right turn lane being constructed. And that is in the application materials. There's nothing to indicate that that has changed. So the several code violations that are triggered here and that become directly violated, obviously there's 23-190 that we went over, but there's additional ones that I've put on this slide. Section 28-1688, subsection 2C, it states that the intent of the article, and this is for the planned mobility development, for planned developments, that the intent of the article is to prevent traffic hazards and provide and for provisions of safe and convenient vehicular and pedestrian traffic circulation. And we think that is directly violated by the absence of this right turn lane. There's also section 28-1849, and that also states that you need to be able to show that a site plan is not going to harm a level of quality of service on roadways. And clearly, Congress Avenue, which is already a stressed roadway, is going to be directly impacted by failure to include a right turn lane. Another provision that is triggered in the city's code is section 28-1719, subpart H, which states that minor streets shall be laid out so that their use by through traffic shall be discouraged. In the project that is in the application, it's proposing to have all ingress of traffic to access this 277 unit development to utilize the roadway at 65th Street, Northwest 65th Street. This is a minor street, and it's already going to provide a lot of stress on that roadway, which provides a southwest access point to my client's property at 6501 Congress Ave. And the result of this right turn lane being removed, as you've heard from testimony, is that there's going to be increased traffic accessing 65th Street, which will put more people will access that are traveling southbound will turn on at 65th Street to avoid the backups from the slow down traffic that results from the absence of the turn lane. And so those people are going to take 65th Street in greater numbers, and that's going to result in greater traffic, thereby affecting the ingress and egress from 6501 onto 65th Street. The traffic impacts to 6501 Congress Ave are evident in the testimony you've heard from Mr. Perez. The traffic situation is already pretty poor on Congress Ave. It's going to be made worse, and the removal of the turn lane is going to restrict traffic movement and put more stress on 65th Street. This slide just shows that the Palm Tran has a bus stop right after 65th Street, just south of it. And so there's already going to be regular stops, and traffic is going to be held up not just by the Palm Tran now, but it's going to be held up by substantial turns that are going to have to be on the main entrance to this project off Congress Ave. I just want to show the different impacts to 6501 Congress. You have the main entrance that's going to have more difficulty, people really leaving, because there's going to be much more traffic as a result of the removal of the turn lane. There's also, with the yellow X, a need for a right turn lane onto 65th to alleviate some of the impacts from the increased traffic caused by the right turn lane being removed. And then to the southwest, the blue X, there's going to be substantial impacts to that entrance, more because when people are coming to that site, there's going to be people leaving the residential area, and when people are leaving that site, people are going to be coming to the 277 unit development. Now, there are several comprehensive plan provisions violated by the project as well. The removal of the right turn lane specifically, and note that the comprehensive plan provisions are specifically referenced and incorporated by section 28-1852 of the city's code. Several provisions are triggered. There's policy from the transportation element 1.4.1, and it states that level of service standards will be upheld through street improvements and multimodal strategies from any proposed land use changes. We've shown that will be harmed by this project. There is a policy transportation element 1.4.4, which provides that the Palm Beach County Traffic Performance Standards Ordinance